Come on, we need to start it.
I had 3 shots of coffee and I'm freaking yawning. She just brings that light that I can't bring.
He kind of makes me more logical and more motivated. You're listening to Opposites Attract with J&T. Stay tuned for... Except you're not getting paid and you're suffering the whole time.
And that kind of goes back to my past. Because when I shot heroin,
What's up?
Don't do that intro, guys. But anyway, welcome to the podcast. I'm James.
And I'm Taylor.
So today's week, we're going to do a little mini-series, and we're going to call it the high school experience.
It's going to be pretty interesting, actually, and I want you guys to stick around for the whole week so you can get all 4 years of high school as well as 3 bonus episodes that we're going to talk about that kind of encompasses all the years.
Heard it first. We're going to do an episode every single day. It's going to be tough, but it's going to be one time. And then if we can do it, if we're alive, if we make it through and rise through the ashes, then we're just going to continue the normal schedule.
Yeah. We hope this is interesting for you guys. So if you ever want more series in the future, let us know.
What we're going to be doing. Once when we get older, I'm sure we can keep popping
We can do
them out.
college next.
Children, drug addictions.
Drug addictions.
Yeah, a little nice little thing of, I was on heroin or coffee, because that's my drug.
Amazing.
Just like every white girl.
I'm addicted.
I'm racist. And that's the beginning of our episode. It's going to be one day for freshman year, sophomore, and you kind of get the gist.
Yeah, so today is freshman year, actually.
Yes, today is the episode fitting in freshman.
Right? Fitting in freshman year.
No, I like fitting in freshman.
Fitting in freshman. Okay, fitting in freshman.
Anyway, we wanted to talk about, obviously, all things have beginnings, just like high school, and freshman year was just that. And any beginning, it's very hard to get yourself in there, just like our intros in our podcast. We don't even know it. So
we're doing
awkward.
half the time.
Every episode, it's like... And same thing with high school. So, I mean... Going into freshman year, the first thing you think about, like, who are my friends, who are you gonna hang out with? Because usually you like talk to your middle school buddies, and you're like, yeah, this guy is weird. How was I friends with this person? But with my experience, it was like I talked with everyone around me all the time, and I kind of just became friends with every single group, like the cool kids, the not cool kids, the weird kids, the kids that play basketball at recess all the time.
Babe, I actually have a question.
What? I didn't even finish my story, but that's fine.
I was going to ask, what was your first impression of high school as a freshman year? Like, I don't think I've ever asked you this.
God. What do you mean was my first?
What was your first impression?
I hated it. I had to go to school on the bus, and if you ride the bus, you have to be there like an hour early. So let's say school started at 8. I would have to be there like at 7, and then you would like freaking drive around the streets, and 20 minutes later, even though it takes 10 minutes to drive there, 20 minutes later, then you're there. You're just sitting for 40 minutes. Actually, but that's when I would sit. I would kind of wait for like the groups to kind of come in and people start flowing. Because remember, we kind of like sat at the lunch tables and talked.
That's what we did before school.
That's what we did. And I kind of hanged out with your friend group in the beginning of that freshman year. But I know I'm kind of like pushing it a little forward. I never really like solidified myself in any of those relationships. And that kind of goes back to my past. Because when I shot heroin, when I was in middle school, I took the bus to school and I walked home. So I never had... If I went... Well... You took the bus too?
I took the bus in middle school.
Jeez, your dad didn't pick you up in the Porsche?
No, they had to work. They had jobs, both of them.
Taylor had a struggle in her life.
Oh my gosh, stop. You act like I have no issues.
Anyway, so I kind of just did... I didn't want to stay an extra 2 hours just for an event. Just to walk back home or wait an extra hour.
So like after school clubs or activities or
anything
like
clubs, like sports. We couldn't do sports because we were broke. So
did you have to pay for sports?
there was like a fee, and you had to buy a uniform, and you had to buy the shoes. Like, say I wanted to do basketball or soccer, I had to buy my shoes. I had to buy the shorts. Like, my parents never wanted to afford that. And then, like, today my dad's talking about how 15 years ago he bought a painting for $300. It's like, no shit, I didn't have clothes because my dad was hanging them. I mean, just buying paintings and hanging them.
That's a good way.
But
of
anyway, the
putting
only
it.
reason I mentioned the middle school thing is because that kind of got me into this attitude of not being at the after school thing, and I think that's just so important when it comes to like solidifying yourself in the friend group, is going to the after school. At least in our school, the cool kids were the ones that went to the after school activities, and I was never able, even though that was the ones that like those were the those peers that I hung out with the most. Those were the ones that went to those activities, and I never had a chance to do that. So like, I slowly progressed into this outsider, the kid who kind of just jumped from friend group to friend group because he knew
He knew third person.
He knew that's when he. I knew that none of those people gave two craps about my life, and like if I got hit by a car, they'd probably post it on their Snapchat just to get views.
Wow.
Bam.
Tell us how you really feel.
Well, come on. There is no, because you look at your middle school friends and they just kind of pass by you and look by you. But even though in middle school you guys were just like laughing. I mean, I did have a friend, but he went homeschooled, and then I had another friend and he went to prison.
That's not a joke. That's actually real life.
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah. Anyways.
But yeah, seriously, that was
seriously
drugs. That was drugs.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Oh, you can do drugs.
No.
I'm drinking coffee right now, sweetie.
Okay, coffee doesn't get you thrown in jail.
Are you kidding me? You know how buzzed I was? I couldn't start this damn episode. But anyway, that was my. I can't say first impressions because that took a minute for all that to unravel. But
how long was a minute? Like, was that the whole year, or was it like kind of a couple months into freshman year, or was it more like the
entire
year,
time,
like whole high school years?
I wanted to be with the cool kids, right? Because the cool kids had the hot girls.
Like
cool
me.
Kids had the parties. Yeah, you were in that group. They had whatever, right? They had the house with the pool. You can like go. That's who I want to be friends with. But you know, like I said, at the end of the day, I knew that they weren't gonna be there for me.
So you just kind of jumped around. And do you? I guess do you regret not really having a solid friend group?
No, I don't, because what I do look at all those people who are just, because let me go a little bit back. I go to this gym that is just these old timers, and all they do is talk about high school. And if I
peaked in high school,
if I knew about my nutrition facts, I could have had 6 packs and fucked all the girls that I wanted to. Like, that's what they literally talk about. It's just they're stuck, and I feel that since I just really didn't care about what friend group I was, because I wasn't ignorant about like how people would treat me in the future, I knew it wasn't just gonna go to waste, and I wasn't gonna be stuck in high school when I was like graduating or like, you know, whatever. I knew since those people didn't care about me, I'm not going to have any relationship with them in the future.
Right.
Unless, you know, some of them are like obviously really close, but that's a little different.
Yeah.
Because I am sure even if you're in sophomore year, there's no way in hell you are talking with the people you did in freshman year.
Unless you're me.
Didn't happen. I was friends with literally every single person. Like I said, everyone knew me. I talked to them. I would like at lunch. I would be sitting like for 10 minutes this table, 10 minutes that table.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I wish I would have noticed you back then like that, because I wish I would have been like able to see that, because like right now obviously I can see like in junior and senior year I saw you do that kind of thing, but then like I wish I would have known like in the thick of like when we were first like growing up, what it was like.
Because I was trying to nudge myself into like the older, what are they called? Classmates, not classmates.
Upperclassmen.
Upperclassmen, yeah. Yeah, that's the right one. I was trying to nudge myself in, so I kind of, you know, this person is I don't know why. Maybe because they were cooler than the ones in my year, but that's when I kind of like started becoming an outsider, really just letting people come to me, and not getting acceptance, because like I didn't get off from people like thumbs up, James. And very good.
And you were saying too that you weren't allowed to hang out with people after school and stuff?
Yeah, in elementary school, like the equivalence of shooting heroin to going to your friend's house after school was like right there. So I would have to lie. I would be like, yeah, I got in trouble, so I had to stay at home, or I had to stay at school. And I would say that if I went to a friend's house, if that makes sense.
Did that last until high school? Until freshman year?
That actually lasted in high school. The first time I went to a friend's house was, like with my parents knowing. Actually, I don't even remember. Yeah, I was a bum boy. Like sure, like freshman year, you would see me just jumping around, but you would not, like no one would see me after school. Like it was just I had my life at school, and then it would just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I kind of accepted this outsider kind of thing, even though it's kind of lonely. Trying to find like that table that you would sit by, because I don't know, I kind of feel like a whore trying to find my next target. Like a prostitute.
Except you're not getting paid and you're suffering the whole time.
Yeah, man. Some prostitutes. I don't know. Yeah. That was my freshman high school experience. Fitting in was so tough, and it was pretty grueling because you would want to be friends with these people, but these people are talking shit about these people, and like I just knew it would never work out, and I kind of want. And then that goes to sophomore year when I kind of gave up. But I knew in freshman year, like, because you asked me how long did I realize. I think it was like 3 months in. I realized the cool people, like, it's never going to happen.
Right. And that was the group that I was a part of. The quote unquote popular, cool, whatever you want to say, crowd.
In our high school.
And so my whole thing was vastly different from James's, if not completely opposite. But, like, I had the same group of friends since, like, I had a couple of friends from, like, elementary school that I was still hanging out with my freshman year, and still even throughout the rest of high school too. But I went into freshman year, I was excited because I was like, new school, I don't have to be at stupid middle school with all these dumb rules and blah, blah, blah. You think you know everything, and then you get to high school and you're like, oh my gosh, it's not as good as you expect when you're in middle school.
Yeah.
But I had the same group of friends that I did in middle school as in high school. I mean, sure, there'd be like one or two that like would come in and come out and like would be around, but not hang out consistently. And so freshman year, I was pretty comfortable in my little bubble of friends. I didn't really branch out to other people. I mean, I would talk to people in classes, and I would like ask for help on homework, and we would, I would have friends on Facebook and friends on Snapchat and stuff and whatever. But I was never like, I wasn't like James. If anything, I like being comfortable, I think was what I used to. I'm trying to learn to go out of my comfort zone a little. Mm-hmm. But I think that was a huge thing, was I was too scared to like go out of my big group. And our group somehow ended up forming into the quote-unquote popular people. I'm not really sure how that happened. We were kind of like that in middle school, too, I would say. Like, at least some of the people that I was friends with. But there wasn't really... It was more of a...
Because you guys are the ones who got the phones first. You guys, the ones who got the Nike Elite socks first. You guys were I think it was money that supported it.
You think so?
Oh, I know so, yeah.
I never really thought about it like that, but I think you have a point.
Like... I never wanted to invite anyone to my house because it's like, where would they sit? Like, it's just so tight. There was like nowhere to go. Like now with this, with you, like you like, hey, come to my house. Like that was like such a common thing. Mm-hmm. No one besides, I think, Malik went to my house, and Chris.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's the thing, is that this is my experience with my friends and fitting in. I was like automatic, like it was just an automatic like thing. And I think what really supported that, you didn't go into any activities, but I did.
Yeah.
I was at like all the football games, all the basketball games. I went to homecoming. I had all these big events that we would go to. I played volleyball for 7 years. And so that continued into high school. So I was playing volleyball. So I automatically had another group of friends and another activity I did after school that supported that kind of atmosphere of being a part of high school and being a part of the high school experience. So I didn't take the bus. I had the first couple years of high school, I had like some of my friends' parents take me to school, and then my mom would sometimes take me to school. How did I get to school? I don't remember, but I didn't have to ride the bus.
Trunk every morning. How did I get here, man?
Somebody gave me a ride. Maybe I had a babysitter or something. Not a babysitter, but like, more like a
That's
driver.
what I'm saying. Like you guys had the parents that drove you around and stuff. Like, freaking, I'd wake up in the morning every day and never had breakfast.
Did you eat breakfast at school?
Sometimes, but then eating breakfast at school became this like low class thing to do.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just not eat it.
Really?
Well, yeah, because I was hanging out with your friends in freshman year in the beginning.
Well, to be fair, the breakfast was really not that great, but it was good for all the people that couldn't eat breakfast before school.
Yeah, exactly. It was all the kids in the bus that would always eat it, and like, oh my god, if someone found out that I was riding the bus, I'd cry. Like,
really?
Oh yeah,
babe.
What do you mean, babe?
I just I guess I'm not used to hearing this perspective because I've only ever seen my own. We haven't talked
From
about
the
this really.
Ivory Tower, huh?
No, it makes me feel like a snob because like if the way I'm talking about it, like it sounds like, oh, I had it all so good and that all this stuff, but that's not true. I mean, there was definitely really big kinks in how fitting in worked, and I think that I was even more in this bubble of like being what everybody else wanted me to be.
Okay, so we talked about our stories and kind of where we kind of came from and how we started freshman year. What are the good things?
Going back to what I was just saying, well, good things, I guess.
Yeah.
The good thing is I always had friends. I was never short of friends. I was always meeting new people. I always had something to do. I had things going on during the weekends. I had sleepovers. I had like all this experience, like making good quality connections with people. Mm-hmm. And I think that was really valuable in the long run. And I'm really happy that happened for me because I made some friendships that I didn't think I would have. And I thought that, and I really liked being a part of the whole high school experience. For me, it was fun because then I didn't think there was things to look forward to instead of just going to school for 6 hours and hating your life.
Wow.
So I always had like, oh, there's a football game tonight. We would all go to a friend's house and get all our makeup on and put on our outfits and take pictures and then go to the football game and hang out with everybody. And it was like a whole big social scene. And I really, really enjoyed that. And sometimes I'm like, I get nostalgic because it was really fun because we had that experience. So that was the good part for me. I liked that part about high school. It made me enjoy high school more, being involved.
I don't even think I even have to say. I don't think I even have to say what the bad part was because you just said what it was for me. I wasn't a part of that. Like that's what I said. I knew those cool kids, the ones that I hung out with in the mornings for this short amount of time. Those were the people that like I knew that they were the ones who would go, like that they would drive home together and they would go in one car and whatnot. That's why I kind of wanted to get it in with them. Yeah, but I think people who do bounce around with friends, they realize that, just like I realized, if you bounce around friends, you don't have friends.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like a facade. That's what. I mean, I wasn't doing
more acquaintances.
I wasn't doing it. No, not even that. I wasn't bouncing around like to like pretend that I had friends. I was just kind of like, I kept bouncing because I understood that these people are like I said, if I'm like my guts are splattered, they're just gonna be like, oh, Snapchat, hashtag cool. I don't know. And like the other people didn't do it for me. And I found like a good set of decent people, like decent humans, and it was like a little small group, and some of the people in that group were also kind of wackos. One tried to be like a white Travis Scott.
You have to tell me who that is later.
Okay. And there was the other couple guys that were douches. I mean, I actually remember, I think it was the next year of high school. I know we're talking only about freshman year, but I would go eat in like I would start eating in the teachers' rooms. And then there was like this one room that would always be filled with that same group, and that's kind of where I at the end of freshman year, that's where I kind of like did my thing.
Did have more.
Yeah.
More of a solid place.
But yeah, other than that, it was all like bad from there. It was kind of looking, where am I gonna sit? And like, I never cared about my assigned seats because I didn't really talk to anyone. And school ending was just, ugh. It's like a whole weight being lifted off my shoulders.
Really?
I mean, the second I got off the bus and walked down to my street, to my house, that's when that kind of stress kind of came off, because it was just so weird, you know?
I didn't know this.
It was also weird riding the bus, because that's a whole different culture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that thing is just like the United States when had the immigration, like all the people from Scotland coming in, and like, so it was just so. You know what I mean? There was a time in the United States where all these immigrants are kind of coming in. Like it went from like the I don't remember how exactly it worked out, but you go on the bus and there's that one rich chick that her parents were trying to teach her a lesson.
Oh my God!
Seriously, there's always that one girl, but then she got a car and she was like, "Fuck you."
Sorry to everybody's ears. I'm sure if you're listening on headphones
so
that
funny.
your freaking ears just burst, because mine did.
I also remember in like junior year, I was still riding the bus. I rode the bus until senior year, but I remember like not the freshman, but the sophomore chicks getting like the car, and I would like see them drive by like on the bus or something, and I would be like, oh, my life, so sad.
I guess
I had such pity for myself because I knew my situation. I knew that my bad was someone else's good.
And like, I guess that kind of goes into my bad. I didn't ride the bus in my high school years, but what was a struggle for me was always like being a part of that group. It seemed like so good on the outside. Like what you're saying you saw like all the fun about it, like all of the things. And there was those things were fun. But the thing that was the hardest part for me was I never really figured out how to be myself without worrying about everybody else. And I think that was the hard part. I was always worried about what I was wearing and how I looked, how I was acting, who I was hanging out with, who I was dating, who I was hating, all that kind of stuff. And it was like I never really could have like room to just experience it without some sort of judgment. Like I remember the freshman year was hard because there was a good amount of drama, just in friend group molding and shifting.
Was it like relationship drama, or was it like
friend relationship drama?
Friend, okay.
Like the friendships just like shifted, and we changed a little bit, and like I feel like I didn't really become myself fully until like the end of junior year / senior year, which we'll get to that. But it was hard feeling like I was a part of this big group and I was having so much fun in some of the places, and then turning around and feeling like shit for something because I wasn't I wasn't wearing what everybody else was wearing. I wasn't doing what everybody else was doing in certain places. So that was really difficult.
That's another thing I forgot to mention. The bad thing, never being able to be part of the trend.
Really?
Oh yeah, that knocks like what you were mentioning, like social score. That's all I think is that this you have to keep your social score, and every day was just this constant battle to keep it up. This constant need of having to go to the after school activities, because if you didn't go, then you're not one of them, or whatever it is, or if you don't have the trendy socks that the people were wearing, or if you didn't have the new iPhone. I remember sitting at that group table and one of the guys got an iPhone 5S and people were just showing their pants, and I'm like, yeah, I don't even have an iPod.
Yeah.
Now I have an iPhone 5S. Take that. It's humbling.
Well, what's the good about you though? What was the good about your situation as a freshman and just fitting in and stuff?
I think the good was I went through all the pain back then. Like I'm over it. I've already defined who I am. I already know, and I'm pretty solid in the relationship with myself. I'm pretty comfortable with myself. I know how I talk, and I know how I act. I know when I'm being a douche. I know when I'm being nice. I know all those things. And I'm sure I'm just gonna guess. Do you struggle with your identity?
I mean, I think at first separating myself from that group, after, like, we'll get to more details in a future episode, so stay tuned for the rest of the week. But I think that shifted a lot after we started dating at the end of junior year, and I kind of broke off. And like, I definitely feel like I was delayed a couple years because I felt like my identity was within this like group. It was who I was. And then when I finally was like, wait, hold on, like, is this really my identity? It was like really like a lot of like trying to figure out how I am without being a part of that group.
It's kind of trippy.
It was really difficult to understand myself, and I'm still on that journey, but I feel like now I understand myself a lot better as being 19.
Yeah, because trying to define, like I said, you can't define yourself in that group because it's just always the dynamic is always changing, and like how can you build your identity around people who will just drop you, like just leave you dead, or leave you left for dead? What is that saying?
Yeah, leave you left for dead.
Yeah, okay. Like, yeah, left for dead. I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry. You can't build your identity around, people like that. So I think that's why, for me, it was so cool not having to worry about just all that stupid, like, in the beginning, it was, like, I had pity on myself, but, I'm not a really emotional person, so I kind of just took it, I understood it, I accepted it, and I just went with it. I mean, not to say you should be proud that you're poor, because you shouldn't, because that sucks. You always have to rise above your situation, and I think that's what I did. Understanding that, like, the clothes that I wear is not who I am, the friends that I have, it's not who I am. The things that I say, the phone that I have, and the places that I go, and who I talk to, it's not who I am. Because I remember, like, bouncing from the groups. Later, even when I got away from the cool kids that judge everything about people, I remember the whole situation of going to for example, I would hang out with some of the guys that play basketball during the lunchtime. I said recess earlier. I did not mean that. That sounds elementary. Lunchtime basketball. I remember hanging out with different friends, and they would have announcements. The lunch basketball is canceled every time.
Oh my gosh!
Every time someone's like, "No," and I would always make fun of it too, because I was not trying to be one of those basketball. And then I was realizing
they were their own group. It's interesting.
Then I'm James, you're kind of doing the same thing that those people did in the beginning of your year, and you kind of, like I said, you kind of realize when you're being you're a douche.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I think that it's really interesting coming into freshman year because for both of us, we noticed this huge dynamic of groups, and it's definitely it's not as bad as in the movies, thank God, but there's still kind of a group.
I'm sure for some people.
For some people maybe, but for us, we were lucky that it wasn't super bad bullying or anything, but there was a very big distinction between groups of people. And that was I think the biggest learning curve for both of us in both of our experience was how I navigated my group and how we navigated all of the groups. But either way, I don't think there's really a wrong way to do it. I think as long as you stay true to yourself and try to figure yourself out throughout it, I think that's all that really matters. Because I regret I kind of got sucked into that whole thing, and I wish that I would have not worried so much about what everybody thought. I think that that's the hugest takeaway from what we were talking about, is just not worrying about what people think. And that you can still do that while you're a part of the popular group. It's just going to be harder, or a part of the whatever group you are. I mean, who knows? I don't know the other groups. But if you guys have perspective on other groups that aren't what we went through, let us know, actually, because that would be really interesting to know, because I didn't know any of this that he's talking to me. We didn't really talk about this before. I didn't think about it.
There was also this semi-popular group that I hung out with too. There was a lot of semi-popular groups, and it's almost popular in their own social class.
Yeah.
Their own the poor popular people, or the apartment popular people. Yeah. And then
it's just weird to think. It's weird to go back to when you first freshman year is definitely about fitting it, trying to figure out where you go.
Well, it was really weird because it was always changing.
It was always changing for you.
Well, no, not even for me. I remember there was this one kid in freshman year. He threw this party, and all of a sudden he became this sex god, and everyone was I
don't know what this is.
I'll tell you later. I was friends with him too. But right now, this dude's the whole popular party kid every day. Rolled the biggest blunts, but now he's just taking hikes and every day. So it's people change.
People change, I guess.
But yeah, Taylor said, I mean, being able to identify yourself is the kind of the important part, and then just realizing that people go and leave, especially in college. Jesus Christ, people spread around freaking disease.
Those groups are freaking gone once you hit college.
Yeah.
Bye. I mean, sometimes people stay in touch, but
if you have to have friends, that's perfectly fine. Like I love my people, but it's because I found a close group of people that actually do care about me.
right.
And it's usually the small groups that make it alive because I did have the threesome friend group, and like he got a girlfriend, and all of a sudden like it was just gone, and like now it's still awkward for me because I know that he doesn't see me as a friend. At least that's how it feels like. So
Yeah, I think just to sum it up a little, we have very different perspectives growing up in high school, and I wish I would have seen his. It's interesting to talk about it with you, babe, because it's weird. Like I can visualize what you went through because I know you so well now that I can see like how that makes sense. But like, I have also what I went through too. It's just I didn't really realize it. I think it's just good to know both sides of the story.
I know your side because I understood how you guys operated.
Yeah, but you don't know the inside. You were never in it.
No, yeah, I know. I've never been to
So
like, the
now you kind
parties
of
or the things.
get a sense of kind of how it worked. It was never perfect. So
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. Let us know if you have other perspectives, and stay tuned for future videos, future podcasts,
Hey, there's videos
and videos on YouTube. Shout out to you guys. Stay tuned for those because we've got more content coming all about high school. We've got plenty to talk about. Even now, I want to like keep talking about all this crazy stuff that went down. So don't forget to come back.
Okay, guys, thanks for listening. If you had any feedback, please let us know so we can make these podcasts better for you.
This stupid train, I'm going to
kill it. Better
it.
for us. The train is a no-go.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's going to keep happening.
Okay, enjoy the rest of your Monday and rock on. Shoot your coffee in your veins and
learn about freshman year. Bye, guys.